Junwoo Kim was the first hunter in the world to reach the SSS rank and reach Korea's top rank. His next mission was rumored to be an ultra-high-risk level dungeon, the sort of place where even monsters fill out life insurance forms. Reporters swarmed like flies screaming questions, half of them hoping he'd die spectacularly so they'd have something juicier to air than cats playing piano. Junwoo Kim guesses today must have been a rare opportunity for them, but he apologetically says he wants to focus on the conquest for now. But the reporters' reaction made him realize they already expected such an answer. It seems they will probably just get credit by getting his voice on air because, hey, TV ratings don't care if the hunter's words are recycled garbage. They just needed his voice to sprinkle over dramatic stock footage. And so, Junwoo Kim decides to give them something special today. As the dungeon's doors open, Junwoo Kim tells the reporters that one thing is for sure. He firmly states that they have always placed their priority on the safety of the citizens, and they are not planning to change that anytime soon. Perfect. Probably worth 4 days of headlines and one overly patriotic commercial. With that, he turns to leave and enters the dungeon. He was certain this would be enough to save his image for now amid all the controversies. But Junwoo Kim instantly freezes as one smug man asked if he had anything to say about the cleaning team assault incident. Everyone else was also too shocked to speak. The man repeats his questions, saying he is talking about the assault of the dungeon cleaning team staff and how he is said to have hurled a man into the wall. The man winks, manipulating the situation, saying Junwoo Kim wants to pretend it never happened. He smiles, saying he personally knows the man he beat up, and coldly questions how he did not make the headlines after beating up an old man. Whispers began to surround the area as people began wondering if Hunter Junwoo Kim really did assault a civilian. Junwoo Kim's face turns pale, but he walks away, saying it is a disturbing rumor. The man laughs, wishing the hunter good luck, muttered it was just a rumor, and stormed inside the dungeon. However, Junwoo Kim was beyond furious already. There existed the Korea Association of Supernatural Ability Management. The association was established to protect the country and its citizens from dungeons and deadly monsters. The association gathered those with supernatural abilities and formed 4 teams. The operation teams assigned to conquests are so-called hunters. Among them, Operation Team 1 is considered the most elite force. They were famous for earning victory in every dungeon contest, with each member known to be the best of hunters. But the leader of that team now faces controversies of assault against civilians. Later, when his manager Mrs. Lee told him the reporter was the cleaning team leader's son, Junwoo nearly combusted. Testimonies about his past behavior were spreading online faster than cat memes, and Mrs. Lee calmly suggested a vacation. But Junwoo Kim was beyond enraged. He says he plans to eliminate whatever comes in his way. And so, he suggests she take care of it, or that will be the end of his career. He also plans to make the chairman pay if he ends up firing him. That is because he has led the association this far. Mrs. Lee continues responding in a robotic way, annoying Junwoo Kim even more. She tells him not to worry, as his rank remains unchanged despite his public image. Junwoo Kim was filled with rage as soon as he read the article after the conquest. His members robbed him from going after the reporter, who turned out to be the son of the man he supposedly heard. And so, he got in the car to head to the association. He managed to calm down this time, but he was still burning with rage. He was renowned for being the best hunter in the world and even got an offer from the International Hunter Association. It is only natural for him to be pissed off, seeing his achievement of all these years going to waste in a second. He decides to settle things with that scumbag before things get out of hand, but the universe had other plans for him. All of a sudden, a truck comes screeching in front of the car. Mrs. Lee tries her best to avoid the clash, but to no avail. In the end, Junwoo Kim uses his powers to avoid the clash. He sits frozen in his seat. A second too late and he would have been doused in blood. While he curses at the truck driver, Mrs. Lee is shaking like a leaf. Junwoo Kim gets out of the car wondering what kind of scumbag dares to ruin his day. But as he begins to walk towards the truck, mechanical traps snapped around him, pinning his limbs. Junwoo Kim realized too late it was a snare meant for the extraordinaries. His body refused to obey him, muscles locked as if chained. The growl of an engine screamed from behind, and before he could so much as blink, a truck smashed into him. His skull rattled, teeth grinding against each other from the brutal impact. Then came the second truck. He was pancaked between them like some divine joke. SSS-Rank Hunter turned meat patty. Smoke poured around him. Junwoo Kim staggered, blood on his lips, fury blazing in his eyes. Who dares challenge me today of all days? Before his rage could find an outlet, a squadron of mercenaries emerged from the haze, rifles raised. The stutter of automatic fire ripped through the air, sparks and bullets raining down on him. It would only take an idiot to not know that this was a thoroughly planned ambush. It is without doubt that a regular hunter would have been killed instantly without a chance to resist. But Junwoo Kim has survived over 1,000 battles in the dungeons, where each fight determined life or death. That is who he is, so of course this won't kill him. Or that is what he thought until he saw the blue ironed muzzle of the superpowered suppressor titan. He stares at it, mumbling that this could turn dangerous. It did. One blast and his insides looked like spilled ramen. His death message popped up, critical damage detected, brain, heart, lungs, liver, pride. Result: cardiac arrest. And just like that, the world's top hunter was nothing but fish food. His body was ruthlessly thrown into the water, but fate wasn't done laughing at him. Another system window appeared, hidden skill unlocked, karma. Congratulations, Junwoo Kim. Instead of getting eternal rest or glory, you are being sent back 10 years, downgraded to the most miserable job imaginable, dungeon janitor. SSS rank legend turned mop-wielding floor scrubber. The irony, brutal. The comedy, chef's kiss. Another window pops up, indicating that with his death, he has successfully unlocked a hidden skill, karma. When Junwoo Kim opened his eyes to his new fate, his first thought was, did hell run out of fire and just dump me here instead? Calling this place a flat was an insult to flats. Even his old bathroom, yes, the one with a gold-plated bidet, was bigger than this. He was certain that this couldn't be Mrs. Lee's house either. That woman would never let him in her house even if the world came to an end. He begins to panic, wondering where he is. Suddenly, the portal window pops up, revealing how his death has successfully unlocked a hidden skill. He squints his eyes in confusion, wondering if the portal is kidding with him. But when he looks at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, his eyes widen in surprise. This was him from 10 years ago, Junwoo Kim at age 28. He opens up the system hesitantly, revealing his current skills. Apparently his hidden skill, karma, has sent him back 10 years. Junwoo laughed, a weird, broken laugh. The laugh of a man who just realized all his achievements, women, cars, trophies, and headlines had been flushed down the cosmic toilet. And just when he thought it couldn't get worse, the system dropped the bomb. New career assigned, dungeon cleaner. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the great Junwoo Kim, scourge of monsters, pride of Korea, now promoted to professional mop handler. Becoming a hunter at 28, Junwoo had already reached rank A at age 28. At that time, he was ranked 22nd domestically and 525th in the world. If he had simply traveled 10 years back in time, he should have been a hunter, a promising, aspiring hunter with everyone's eyes on him. The condition to deactivate karma is to become the Secretary General of the International Superpower Association within 5 years. If the requirement is met, the skill will be automatically deactivated, and he will return to the moment before his death. If unsuccessful, Hunter Junwoo Kim will perish completely. It means if he succeeds, he can go back to when he was alive. And if he does not, he will rot away from here for the rest of his life. The International Superpower Association is a global organization in control of all associations worldwide. It is where the Secretary General holds more authority than the President of the USA. In other words, it is the most powerful position in the world. Junwoo Kim knows that he is out of his league even as the world's first SSS ranking hunter, and the portal was telling him to make it to that position in just 5 years. He knows for sure that he cannot do that. It's not that he does not want to, but it is just simply impossible. It was like asking a cockroach to win Miss Universe. He guesses becoming a hunter is the best chance he has got. He opens up his skills, deciding to reach SSS in no time, but his plans immediately come to spoil as he sees all of his hunter skills as locked. He grits his teeth in frustration and curses at the karma skill. In that moment, the portal flashes with how he has acquired a new skill. This makes Junwoo Kim feel slightly better. It was a new passive skill, OCD. The portal instructs him to get to cleaning. If you think the man wasn't the right amount of furious before, you should see him now. Junwoo nearly put his head through the wall. Truly, the gods had a twisted sense of humor. He rotted in bed, replaying the weird turn of events. All of his achievements have vanished into thin air, and he is left with the cleaning job. But he was hesitant in doing so, wondering what about his dignity as an SSS ranker. But before that, he knows he needs to figure out who killed him. There were definitely a well-trained bunch, and he wondered if they could have been a civilian guild. Or were they sent by the association? He gets cut off from his thoughts as he gets a call from an unknown ID. He picks it up and recognizes the voice of Park. Junwoo Kim begins to wonder if he had a boss named Park in the past. Boss Park begins to talk about dungeons, making him realize that he was assigned to be a dungeon cleaner by his karma. Junwoo Kim hears the other cleaner calling him a voice and how he is likely to dip from the job. Junwoo Kim couldn't believe his ears. He gets that he looks like crap, but even the cleaners were looking down on him. He guesses this must be a damn joke. Boss Paul tells him to take it easy, but just give him a heads up next time. The man tells him to reach him on this number and save it as Junwoo Park. Junwoo Kim was beyond astonished, as the name was way too familiar to him. And so, he tells Junwoo Park that he will be coming after all. Junwoo was shocked that he did not have any wearable clothes and also that there was not a Bentley waiting for him outside. He had no choice but to take a cab, however, he could not find a single penny in his wallet. It was ironic that the great Junwoo Kim was taking a bus. Who would have imagined this in his past life? This means all his relationships must have changed as well, and he never assaulted Junwoo Park in this realm. As of now, he has got nothing going on with him. But if it was Junwoo Park that killed him, it is going to be a different story because he needs an explanation for his death. It was a fact that an accident was planned to stop him in his tracks with an anti-superpowered seizure device to prevent him from using his skills. Not to mention that particular gun was no ordinary weapon. It was a superpower suppressor for torching monsters, the Titan. It is a weapon of the highest class of all firearms with an enormous price and substantial technology. It is not something a dungeon cleaner like Junwoo Park could handle. But with his grudge against Junwoo, he could have hired a professional to do it. His son also had quite a deep resentment against him. Junwoo Kim scoffs, wondering if he suffered all of that just because he nudged the guy and they called it an assault. It could all have been avoided if the janitor could have just listened to him when he was being nice. Apparently, the guy had confronted Junwoo. When he heard that, he suggested a cut in the cleaning team. He had argued that they were already suffering enough with the lack of staff. Junwoo Kim stated that all he did was make a suggestion and has no authority over the matter. He suggested Junwoo go to the control team and ask them instead. But Junwoo firmly says that everyone in the industry knows how much influence he has. The association practically depends on him, and it is probably not even a big deal to cut down their staff. So he requests him to not proceed with the cutbacks and reconsider. Junwoo Kim knew he was in a pickle. He had expected that they would eventually hear about his suggestion on cutbacks, but he did not expect them to actually come up to him. And by the look on that man's face, he knew this was going to drag on. Junwoo Kim tells the man that it is actually inefficient for lizards to cut off their tails, yet they do it without hesitation when they are in danger. They ask the man why does he think that is. He then coldly answers his question himself, saying it is because it is the only way they will survive. As inefficient and painful as it is, that is their only chance of survival and the definition of a last resort. He looms over the man, saying that everyone thinks there's somebody in this world. Junwoo was taken aback by his ignorant words. Junwoo Kim continued speaking, saying that the association is facing a major financial crisis, and they said they would cut down the salaries of the top hunters. Junwoo couldn't believe that he did it for his own salary. Junwoo Kim says that the priority of the association is to protect citizens from dungeons and monsters, and it is hunters like him who carry out that mission. He apologizes, saying there had been no other option. Junwoo becomes pissed off at his selfishness. Junwoo Kim remarks that those cleaners do not do much anywhere. He scoffs, saying, "What is there to clean?" Junwoo reminds him of his words, how he said the priority of the association is to protect the citizens. He bowed down, pointing out that they are citizens as well, and begged him to reconsider his decision. Junwoo Kim groans in annoyance and asserts that people like him need to thank them. While hunters fight for all of their lives, the cleaners just get paid for cleaning up the mess. He says they are making easy money, yet they won't stop asking for more. He calls them a bunch of parasites. This angers Jun T and he grabs his shirt, but Junwoo Kim slams him back hard. That's what happened. Junwoo Kim finally made his way to the site and was shocked to see that it was a yellow-level dungeon among high-risk levels. He knew the boss in this yellow level would be the Foxtrot Centipede. He knows this because he was a part of this conquest when he was 28. This has only confirmed that he has definitely traveled 10 years back in time. And then, like some cruel joke, Junti Park's voice called out to him. Junwoo turned, glaring daggers at the man who might have killed him once and who now had the authority to tell him when to mop up centipede guts. The irony was so sharp, it could have slit his throat. Junwoo Kim takes a good look at the man. He seemed a typical middle-aged man in a cheap, worn-out uniform, exactly like how he remembered him. Not exactly assassin material. Junwoo was halfway through wondering if he was overthinking everything when, smack, Junti clapped him on the back so hard it nearly reset his spine. Laughing loudly, he told the others, "Didn't I say he'd be dependable?" The others didn't look convinced. But one of the staff members, Sang-hyuk, scoffs, saying Junwoo only came because he got caught trying to dip. Another, Hui Jang, agrees, revealing how Junwoo did not do any work last time just because he said he could not handle it. The third member of the cleaning team staff, Soyeon Mun, also adds in, asking the boss why they need Junwoo when the four of them are enough. It was like being roasted alive by a bunch of janitors. But Junti Park tells them all to get down to business, as they have only 45 minutes left. He suggests hurrying up before they get another earful. Junti hands Junwoo a respirator, confusing him. He frowns, asking what exactly the dungeon cleaners do. The Courier Association of Supernatural Ability Management is made up of 4 teams: the control team, the support team, the operation team, and the cleaning team. The command and control team monitors the opening of dungeons and gathers relative information. The hunter support team manufactures the necessary weaponry and items to support the overall conquests. Then the strategy and operation team consists of hunters who fight and terminate monsters in the dungeons. And then there is the dungeon cleaning team, which Junwoo Kim had no clue about. The dungeon cleaning team tempered on the respirators and made their way into the dungeon. As everyone talks about disinfecting and checking on the gas level, Junwoo Kim is utterly confused. He scoffs, wondering, why is everyone pretending to be so busy? Everyone stares at him suspiciously as he begins to go the wrong way, saying that they are heading to the boss's room. Junti corrects him that the boss room is not that way. One of the members rudely shows the map to him, telling him to see it for himself and tell him where the room is. Previously subdued dungeons were mapped out by the hunters that took on the conquest. One looks at the map and he once again tells them that the map is incorrect. He mumbles that he overestimated the control team when they cannot even do their job right. The others were shocked and wondered if he had lost it or something. Junti questions what makes him so certain. Junwoo confidently begins to answer that he was the one who carried out the conquest, but he stops midway. It is because he knew no one was going to believe it anywhere. And so he gives up, telling them to lead the way. They began to talk about how little time they have remaining until the dungeon closes up. Junwoo Kim obviously knew about that. All dungeons come to perish after each conquest, typically 2 hours immediately after. It is the least of concerns for hunters as they leave the site after the conquest. But apparently it was important for the cleaning team as their job began right after. Junwoo frowns, saying he does not understand the need to clean a dungeon that will perish on its own anyway. Junti chuckles and explains that a subjugated dungeon does not simply perish but enters the resting phase. That is, until a new monster takes over. Junwoo he says he is aware of it. Junti replies that it will be easier for him to understand. He asks Junwoo how he would feel if a dungeon opened up again and was packed with monster carcasses. Junwoo says he won't feel anything, but Junti says he is wrong. He elaborates that the hunters could lose their way in their conquest, and the gas from the carcasses is fatal to humans. The more carcasses there are, the higher the risk for hunters. He firmly asserts that their job is to make sure the hunters can focus solely on the conquest. Therefore, they take pride in what they do. Without them, there wouldn't be any hunters either. Junwoo Kim finds his words as nonsense but doesn't argue. Junti further explains how their main job is to clean up after monster carcasses and the byproducts in the dungeons, making sure that none of the traces of hunters are left behind. He guesses that rescuing some hunters left behind could also be one of their tasks, though that has never happened before. Junwoo rolled his eyes so hard it was a miracle they didn't get stuck. A cleaner saving a hunter? What's next? Cockroaches running for the office? Finally, they reached a heavy door. According to the map, it was the boss's room. They pushed it open, only to find it empty. Junwoo argued that he was saying this from the beginning. Everyone begins to panic, wondering what they should do. They only had 22 minutes left. They unanimously vote that they have enough time to still do their job, but Junwoo Kim is surprised to hear this and asks, "What do they mean they have enough time?" Junti smiles, saying it is enough time to get working and they need to finish what they started. Junwoo Kim begins to yell about the possibility of the dungeon closing up on them. He says that once it closes, the earliest it will open back up is a week, and if not, the worst-case scenario is a whole year. Junti burst into laughter, saying they can just chill inside and it is no big deal. Junwoo Kim found his words absurd. Trapped inside a dungeon for an entire year basically means death. He yells at them that they have lost their minds and would risk their lives just for some cleaning job. But Junti ignores his outburst and tells the other to get going. One of the members tells Junwoo to leave if he wants, as they never expected much from him anywhere. The others also agree, thinking that it is probably his first time in a dungeon anywhere. This obviously hurts Junwoo Kim's ego. After 15 years of being a hunter, he did not fail a single conquest. He was the first to reach the SSS rank worldwide and the first to win the title as one. No one, absolutely no one, could look down on his dungeon career, but now he is being locked down in a dungeon by mere lowlife cleaners. The thought itself makes him laugh. Everyone halts as he reveals that there is a small path down this room. One of the members began to underestimate him, saying that he is making things up again. But a furious Junwoo Kim interjects, telling him to shut his mouth and listen to him. He glares at the cleaner, explaining that the boss's room is 500 meters away from here. If they take this shortcut, they might make it in 8 minutes and maybe even 5 if they run. He begins to walk towards the shortcut path, saying that he will be leading this time. And so they all began to make a run for it to the boss's room. To everyone's shock, Junwoo had been right all along. In front of them was the defeated Foxtrot Centipede, a boss monster that looms over 10 meters in size. By the looks of it, it must have been a fierce battle. At least 5 or 6 lives might have been lost. Junwoo Kim, what's the price to see that the hunters were able to hit the vital spot of the monster? It is its dented forehead above the gigantic jaw. And one of the men began to start dismantling, but Junwoo blocks his way. The man frowned, about to argue, when the centipede's massive eyes flickered with light. Then it moved. With a horrifying screech, the monster rose, its endless legs scraping against stone. It had survived subjugation. The cleaners gasped in shock. Junwoo Kim's blood ran cold. This wasn't just bad, this was catastrophic. And deep down, Junwoo thought, if I die to a centipede while holding a mop, I swear I'm haunting every single one of these idiots. Without his skills, he has no chance of defeating the monster. But just as it had woken up from its slumber, it collapsed again, slamming to the floor like an exhausted drunk who realized life wasn't worth it. Junwoo muttered that maybe it was rigor mortis, or maybe the strategy and operation team just half-assed the job. He cursed them under his breath, saying they probably clocked out early to go grab fried chicken while leaving behind a 10-meter corpse still twitching. The man from before tells him to step back because he froze while seeing the monster for the first time. Junwoo's eyes widened, genuinely questioning if the guy had been dropped on his head as a child. Without hesitation, he snatched the knife from the cleaner's hands. He tells the man to watch and learn before he gets hurt. He stabs the monster, explaining that the knife only fits inside the 3rd, 6th, and 12th points on the outer shelf. He tells them all not to bother trying, as it would not go anywhere else. He further explains that the nerves still seem to be alive, so they should ignore the wriggling while they're taking it apart. As he continued focusing on the dismantling, the others were too shocked to even speak. but when he nudges them to work, Junti signals the others to get to work. He begins to yell at all of them for doing things wrong. He also warns them not to step on the blood because it is extremely sticky. One of the cleaners asks Junti if he showed him the control team's file to boost his ego. When Junti denies, this only shocks him more as he wonders how a rookie cleaner could be so adept. Suddenly, the portal window pops up, indicating that his OCD skill has activated. Nothing like a compulsive need for order when you're knee-deep in monster guts. The dismantling process was finally complete. Junwoo Kim sighs in relief and smiles, with his mouth gaping open as he realizes that he is feeling satisfied from this job. An SSS-Rank Hunter, reduced to feeling joy over peeling monster meat like a kitchen apprentice. As for the others, they were impressed by his work and praised him, but Junwoo doesn't understand the hype as it was just cleaning. Junti praises him for being a promising cleaner. He then suggests they should get going now because they have only 5 minutes left. With that, they turn to leave, but Junwoo instantly halts as he sees blood. He wonders if it leaked from a hole in one of the sacks. The girl tells the boss that Junwoo can't budge, but Junwoo tells her to stop making a fuss and give him some space. He is aware that this creature's blood is more than just adhesive. Even he could not get himself offered during his hunter days. But with the skill of Hellfire, it will easily melt in the high heat. But things turned awkward as nothing came out of his hand. A portal window pops up, revealing that the skill has failed because it is currently locked. And so, Junwoo knew he was doomed. He survived dragons and demons, but will die glued to the floor like a kindergarten art project. The others began to turn nervous. Junti orders Huijang to tie him up quick and everybody else should grab on. They all then began to pull with teamwork. However, Junwoo won't budge, and now only 55 seconds were remaining. Junti orders Junwoo to take off his hazmat suit, but someone argues that the gas levels are too high. Junwoo was still shocked and couldn't understand what the boss was talking about. If he is the one who is stuck, why are they willing to stay? Isn't it in the instinct of lizards to cut off their tails to survive? If it is, why are they not giving him up, the tail, in a dire situation like this? He realizes these morons are more foolish than lizards. Junwoo begins to take off his suit. Junti orders the others to leave. Only 10 seconds were remaining. While the others scramble towards safety, Junti grabbed Junwoo himself and bolted for the exit. Somehow, they made it out before the dungeon perished. Junwoo lay there, panting, seething, nearly died, not from a monster, not from a battle, but from janitorial work. Junti praises Junwoo for having chalked it up to experience and apologizes for what happened on today's first cleanup task. Junwoo he is dumbfounded as he hears that today is the first cleanup task. He asks how many more are there. Junti smiles, revealing that there are 5 more. There are 8 strategy and operation teams just in Seoul and a whopping 96 teams all over Korea. Counting in Freelancer Hunter is not signed under the association. There are approximately 11,300 registered hunters in the nation. Meanwhile, there are only 5 cleaning teams in the nation, thus a total of 25 cleaners. That means an average of 3.3 dungeons that each team must clean every day, and if unlucky, up to 5 cleaning tasks assigned per day. And today just happened to be one of those unlucky deals. When the night falls, the dungeon cleaning team decides to call it a day and get a round of drinks. But everyone's mouth falls in disappointment as Junwoo says he won't come. He has decided not to be so friendly with these guys. But he then realizes he also needs food and says he will take some steak. Junti, however, interjects, saying he will not force drinks. Junwoo doesn't get to explain and leaves. They all praise him and call it a night. Later, Junwoo Kim lay in his bed, thinking. He is now certain that it cannot be Park who killed him in his past life. He is too soft-hearted to have hired an assassin solely out of resentment. Then who could it possibly be? There are only a few others who might have held grudges against him. There was Kwanmo Yang, the Nubian his team he usually bullied. There's Yujin Min, his ex he constantly gets in quarrels with. Or Donghui Hwang of the control team that he will draw from. He groans in annoyance, knowing the list goes on. He guesses he might probably not even know the killer in this realm. For a proper revenge, he needs to deactivate the karma and return to his past life. And to do that, he needs to become the Secretary General of the International Superpower Association. He groans, knowing he would be a hunter in no time if only he had the skills. He then suddenly realizes something and opens the portal system. He did not check in the morning, but there are requirements to unlock skills. He sighs in relief, knowing that there is no need to resort to a cleaner with these. There were quite a few requirements, but he was filled with rage as every single condition has to do with the cleaning team. He throws some garbage at the TV in fury, as the portal really wanted him to become a fully committed cleaner. He soon comes down, but that is when his OCD kicks in. He begins to clean up the messy room, wondering if he had not gotten any cleaning done in his previous life. The portal once again pops up, saying that the requirement to unlock the skill is to show up at work. With that, he unlocks the skill of Hyper Boost. It's been a whole week since Junwoo Kim started commuting by bus like some broke salaryman and working as a dungeon cleaner. A career path that screams, "This is not what I have worked my whole life for." He has cleaned 25 dungeons to this day, used up 6 bottles of disinfectant, and disassembled more than 30 monsters. And just how many skills has he unlocked? Just one, Hyper Boost. The skill causes the movement speed of the user in battle to increase significantly. The requirement to unlock it, showing up at work. That's right. Apparently, attendance is now a superpower. Imagine if students got powers for just showing up to class. Half the world would be Avengers by now. There is no doubt that it is a highly efficient movement skill, but not without an attack skill to pair it with. Plus, it has no use in cleaning, as it is only activated in battles, basically like unlocking premium Spotify when you don't even have internet. Junwoo Kim sighs in frustration, but he guesses it is better than nothing. Practically speaking, making 60 million won a year as a dungeon cleaner or making a job the most preferred career is impossible. Dungeon cleaning, as we all know, is the most extreme job there is. Of course, there were relatively easier requirements as well, though they were a bit abstract. Junwoo Kim guesses that the most doable would be in trust from the association leaders. He thinks that with his knowledge as a former SSS-Ranking Hunter, he could give them advice for the next decade to come. Then he will grab their attention in no time. He is certain that they would not believe in him at first. He contemplates whether he should reach out to his former teammates to gain their trust. Too bad there are literally 1 million hunters out there. His odds of standing out are about the same as winning Squid Game. If he keeps this going, he will be stuck as a cleaner forever. He looks outside and gasps in surprise. He yells about how he has missed his stop. And so he ends up getting 10 minutes late at the dungeon site. Sang-hyuk teases him for being late and then suddenly gives him some coffee, telling him to drink it while he waits. Junwoo Kim has noticed how Sang-hyuk's the attitude is complete. It's completely changed since the first day. It seems the man is surprised that he has not quit yet. Junwoo ignores him and suggests they get a move on. Sang-hyuk casually reveals that the hunters are not done with the conquest yet. Junwoo Kim stares at the dungeon with confusion as he did not recognize it at all. But from the looks of it, he guesses it can only be an intermediate blue-level dungeon at most. Therefore, it cannot be that challenging. So he wonders what is delaying the hunters till now. After a while, he stares at the dungeon, commenting on how pathetic the situation is. It's not like he can assist them in there. He calms himself down, thinking that they would be done soon. But that was a big miscalculation on his part. 30 minutes passed by and Junwoo Kim was on the verge of losing it. He begins to yell, wondering what the hell those idiots are doing in there. Soon enough, the hunters stumble out looking like college students after finals week. Seeing the hunters staggering and coming out as a mess from a blue-level dungeon, he calls them a bunch of amateurs. The woman tries to stop him, but he keeps on remarking how it is a waste of their salary. However, he instantly shuts up as he sees a familiar face coming out of the dungeon. His eyes widened as he recognized the long, silky hair and the pale, smooth skin. It was Minju Kim. She was a junior hunter on Junwoo Kim's team. He was surprised, wondering what she was doing here. Minju notices him staring at her and asks if he has got something to say. Junwoo Kim denies this, but internally, he was wondering why he had to come across her of all people. The one who slapped him harder than Will Smith at the Oscars. Earlier, he had considered reaching out to his former teammates, but Minju Kim was an exception. It is because the woman despised him for no reason. He had once suggested retirement to her after she got severely injured, and she cursed him out really harshly when he was only trying to be considerate. Junwoo thinks that her nasty pride was all she got, though he must say she had potential as a hunter. Soon enough, the others, including Junti, arrived. They teased Junwoo for staring blankly at Minju, making them wonder if she was his ex. Junwoo Kim groaned in annoyance. Soon, they made their way into the blue-level building dungeon. It was literally an entire building that turned into a dungeon. Junwoo explains to them that all he knows about the place is that the boss is a humanoid monster. For the past week, his team has been bombarding him with questions about dungeons and monsters. He has given them a weak excuse, but it seemed to have fooled them. He explains to them that it is hard to make out byproducts in a building dungeon, so they should make sure to search from corner to corner. They should also make sure to check for blood pools at the bottom of every staircase. Junti then tells Junwoo to come with him to the boss's room. As they made their way there, Junti gasped. He says he does not like humanoids because they look exactly like human corpses. It was the humanoid monster of Vega, taking on the appearance of a female, but only about 5'0" tall. Junwoo Kim remarks that they might not need to dismantle this one. Junti agrees, but then notices something unusual about the kid and asks if something is wrong. Although Junwoo responds that it's nothing, he internally acknowledges that something is indeed off. If he remembers correctly, Vega was not a particularly threatening monster. As long as you could dodge its nimble movements, it was a done deal. But now, she's getting bodied by what's basically dollar store Wednesday Addams. 10 years ago, Minju Kim was a B-ranked hunter. It may not sound like much, but B rankers are quite powerful. If not for her injury, Minju Kim had the potential of an S ranker. Junwoo Kim remembers how swift she was in using her sword. Stubborn as she was still highly skilled, meaning she is not the one to struggle against a blue-level boss. He gets cut off from his thoughts as Junti calls out for help. Junwoo pushes the thought aside, reminding himself that she is a stranger to him now and it does not matter. But his eyes widened as he saw knife wounds on the humanoid's body. A sudden realization dawns on him and he is stunned. It is now 5 a.m. Junwoo Kim only had about 2 hours of sleep. It has apparently been 3 consecutive days of bad luck for him. He has never been this busy, not even in his hunter days. He looks towards his other team members and sees that they were as tired as him. And then, oh joy, Minju Kim walks out of the dungeon again. Junwoo internally, out of all the millions of hunters in Korea, why the hell is God matchmaking me with my sworn enemy? An awkward silence enveloped them as they stood facing each other. They awkwardly try to pass each other. Left, right, left again. Classic sidewalk standoff, peak Netflix rom-com moment. Except instead of cute background music, there's murder vibes. She finally slips past him, muttering under her breath. He glares at her back but then notices her massaging her shoulder. He begins to look at her cautiously, wondering if he should tell her. But he decides not to, considering he's still not over what she said to him. He remembers visiting her in the hospital, only to receive no proper greeting in return. He criticizes her for neglecting her health as a hunter and for overestimating her own abilities. He then handed her a retirement letter, suggesting that she take a break, as her injury would prevent her from continuing as a hunter for much longer. It was revealed that everyone in the association shares his viewpoint, but Minju Kim became furious. She trembled, assuring him that it is not a big deal, but he told her not to say such nonsense as she will only drag them down as a team. He scoffed, saying that she should have told him if she were in pain instead of making matters worse. It was at this moment that Minju Kim finally lost it. She yells at him about how she has spoken of it multiple times, saying that she needed to go get checked. But he had dismissed her concerns, telling her to get on with the work. She was in tears as she shared how she had held back and hidden her injuries because of her, but Junwoo shouted back at her, telling her not to put the blame on him. Minju Kim revealed how she never liked him as her boss because he always looked down on them. She then slaps him right across the face, hoping that he does better in his next life. Full WWE. Junwoo becomes nervous as he recalls what had happened. After some pondering, he admits that he did say some hurtful stuff, but he could not remember her telling him about her injury. But he never thought the injury would develop this early on, and so he finally gives up and calls out to Minju. Stuttering and blushing, Junwoo awkwardly advises her to strengthen her left grip. He explains that relying on her right hand when she holds the sword puts pressure on her shoulder. Her posture now will help her attack faster, but it will quickly wear out her shoulder. With the help of gestures, he explains that she needs to use her left hand as support to lessen the pressure. It is necessary to disperse the balance between both hands. Minju Kim was confused, but it acknowledges his words. But her expression was enough to give him a reality check. Annoyed, he walks into the dungeon, suggesting that she get a check-up or whatever. Minju was surprised, wondering what all that was about. But she ended up going to the hospital for a checkup anyway. What shocked her even more was when the doctor revealed that she has got an inflammation on her right shoulder. He elaborated that it is not too serious, but it could have led to a serious injury if left untreated. He suggested that she improve her posture and prescribed some medicines for her. Minju was shocked as the doctor began to repeat the creepy cleaner's words. On the other hand, Junwoo Kim was on the verge of collapsing. One of his team members teased him to not keep his ex waiting on him like that. Junwoo was too shocked to say anything and wondered what she was doing here. Still thinking the girl is Junwoo's ex, they all leave. Junwoo questions what she wants. He complains that he is exhausted and needs to catch the last bus home. Minju approaches with the aura of someone about to stab her ex for liking another girl's Instagram post. Then, without warning, she swings her sword. She demands, "How did you know?" Junwoo is beyond pissed. This woman put a sword to his neck like it's a normal Tuesday. Internally, he's debating whether death by blue-haired anime girl would at least make a funny Reddit headline. He keeps silent, which only makes her angrier. She tells him to stop pretending like he does not know what she is talking about. Junwoo guesses that she did get her shoulder checked out and reveals that it was just a wild guess on his part. He wanted to pull a prank on a hunter with stuff he read online. Minju frowned, revealing that her sword skills are confidential and are not even released to the public. But he seemed to know her posture and the muscles she used. Junwoo becomes startled, knowing he has put himself into trouble by getting himself involved. He knows the association might think of him as a spy if they hear about this. He then reveals that he saw the sword marks on the carcass. There were plenty of them, but some stood out more than others. He elaborates that the vertical slashes with right arm support made deep cuts, but the following cuts were much shallower. He knew that her left hand grip was weak. Vega is a boss monster with nimble movements as its forte, but other than that, it wasn't a monster of great threat. He further explains that it is a well-known strategy to subdue it by counterattacking its fast movements. He says he assumed that she isn't in a condition to catch up to Vegas. Though not a swordsman himself, the reason he could give such advice is simple. It is because he was the first all-class hunter ever. Minju's demeanor instantly shifts and she looks at him with hope, questioning if he is a freelance hunter. "Girl, please, if he were a hidden master, would he be carrying around monster guts like DoorDash orders?" Before he could clarify anything, Minju says she heard there were several in the city. They are hidden masters with acclaimed skills who appear only in highly advanced dungeon conquests. She questions if he might be a high-ranked hunter from the civilian guild instead. Junwoo pulls his hand away, asserting that he is no hunter. Out loud, Junwoo Kim insists he's just a cleaner, literally mopping floors for rent money. He tries to walk away before she drags him into more drama, but he knew what she wanted was obvious. She was probably planning on profiting off him if he turned out to be a leading hunter. But he is just a pathetic dungeon cleaner at the moment and will not have any business with her anymore. However, he stops in his tracks as he hears her saying thank you to him. He was unable to believe that the arrogant Minju Kim was thanking him, that too in a flustered manner. Minju Kim ended up demanding a holiday for rest from the association. She also revealed how she would like to improve her sportsmanship without the help of a personal tutor. The head of this strategy and operation team was surprised and asked if she had gotten herself a martial arts master or a boyfriend. Minju revealed that she is going to take lessons from her cleaner on the dungeon cleaning team. This surprises the head of the strategy and operation team even more. He asks if it is the cleaner who told her to get her shoulder checked. Minju's eyes widen as she cannot believe he knows about this. She recalls her moments and realizes it must be that nurse. The head becomes furious and yells at her, questioning what there is to learn from a cleaner when he has got nothing to teach her. The leader facepalms so hard you can hear the disappointment echo, but eventually he gives up. He later begins to question the consequences of this. Several days passed by. Junwoo Kim had ended up unlocking a new skill, one counter. He hasn't done anything special, so he has no clue why it is unlocked. Well, they say the end justifies the means. Junwoo had been bringing Minju along with the dungeon cleaning team. He wasn't happy about bringing her along, but she had begged him to teach her the ways of swordsmanship, claiming him to be her master. Junwoo was surprised when he heard about it, wondering what kind of a hunter asks a cleaner to teach swordsmanship. Back then, he had told her that he would think about it if she helped with the cleaning duty. He had thought that her ego as an actual hunter would not let her take on his offer. But to his utter shock, she had agreed willingly. It seems he must have underestimated her. He had thought all she had was her ego, but he did not expect her to take on some chores willingly. Meanwhile, Soyeon observes the two of them working together and immediately smells drama. From her POV, this is less master-disciple and more office romance sitcom with knives. And honestly, she's living for it. Junwoo, once an SSS-Ranked Hunter, is now giving Minju a TED Talk on how to mop floors like your life depends on it. Junti claps like a proud dad at a kindergarten recital, calling Junwoo a pro cleaner. Junwoo gets flustered, as if bro got complimented for being Gordon Ramsay of janitors. Then it hits him he was once a monster slayer and now he's proud of scrubbing monster juice. Peak, how did we get here energy. Junti also praises Minju for doing good work. As for Soyeon, she was looking at things with a different lens altogether. After Minju is done finishing her zone, Soyeon suggests that she come with her. She says she might not get to work with the hunter again. Minju was confused but agreed with her. And so, Junwoo and Sanghyuk stare at them as they go to another room. Together, they bet on the hunter. Soyeon was having an awkward time with Minju. She couldn't understand what to say to the hunter. She doesn't know what got into her, but she had to bring her. Minju questions if she is feeling okay. Soyeon reveals how she hasn't gotten any sleep for days now. She then smiles at Minju, saying that she would like to hear her story as it is her first time actually talking to a hunter. Minju says there is not much to talk about. She ends up revealing how she just followed down her father's path as a hunter. However, he got fired for a shoulder injury, with his superior telling him to stop faking it and return to work. His partners also distanced themselves from him. Not wanting to cause a nuisance, he withheld through it all, but that ended up worsening his health instead. Minju bitterly reveals that there is no such thing as partners in the association. There are only superiors and juniors. As for her father, he was a B ranker up until the moment he was fired. Therefore, to the higher-ups, he was just a disposable. She vents that the association is just ranks, power abuse, and fake loyalty. Basically a toxic workplace with swords. She even jokes she can't imagine how badly cleaners get treated, which is hilarious because Junwoo is literally standing there like the poster child for corporate downgrades. Soon, silence surrounds them. Then comes the girl talk. After a while, Minju coughs and asks her if she has feelings for the master. Soyeon instantly starts to blush and asks if it is that obvious. Minju grins. Soyeon expresses how the man is good at what he does and responsible and actually slacked off on the first day and showed up later on the second. She says she did not think she would be seeing him for long, but now he works harder than anyone else. Plus, he is quite knowledgeable about dungeons and monsters. To her, he's basically a walking cheat code. Minju begins to ponder and deduces that man is definitely not just any ordinary cleaner. He was able to determine her condition just from some life wounds on a subdued monster carcass. And if he is more knowledgeable about the dungeons and monsters than the control team itself, he is the true master that she needs. She tells Soyeon not to worry about her because she has got no feelings for the man. Soyeon questions why she comes to see him every day then. Minju reveals that the association looks down on the weekend and is submissive to the strong. This makes her so furious, to the point she decided her change was needed. This is why she wants to become stronger with the master's help. Soyeon becomes confused and asks if she isn't Junwoo's ex at all. Even Minju remains dumbfounded. Soon, Junwoo sees the two women exit. To his surprise, they were looking more close-knit than before. Before making their way to the boss's room, Junti gathers them all and explains that this one is a venomous monster. He suggests they be extra cautious today and not touch it directly. He then notices Soyeon seems out of it today. Soyeon assures him she will be fine, though the suit feels a little uncomfortable today and she can't breathe with the respirator on today. Sang-hyuk furiously questions if they shouldn't be getting new equipment. He asks Junti if he has spoken to the association about raising the budget. Junti says that he has, but the association says they don't have the funds. They make their way into the boss's room, which reeked considerably. Junwoo recognizes the boss monster as Maximum Slime. Though seemingly an ordinary slime, exposure to its deadly poison and stench will eventually lead to intoxication. With only 5 minutes to survive, there is no way to endure the intoxication caused by the dungeon. Imagine being killed by a monster that's literally a pile of Nickelodeon slime. As a result, Junwoo exercises extra caution today. They all get to work. Junti keeps checking up on his members, but he goes to Soyeon, who seems out of sorts. But when he nudges her a bit, she instantly collapses to the ground. Soyeon's body was trembling all over, and her face had quickly turned pale. Turns out her gear is so trash it might as well have come from Temu. Sang-hyuk guesses there must have been something wrong with her respirator, and her protective suit is torn too. Junti knew they had to get her out of here and told Sang-hyuk to contact the support team. He asks Junwoo to help carry Soyeon out, but Junwoo knew it was too late now. It is impossible for the support team to arrive and inject her with the antidote within the given time. Contamination of Maximum Slime toxin will only result in agonizing pain and ultimately death. However, he turns to look at Sang-hyuk and Junti's faces. Determined, he tells Minju to take out her sword. Minju was taken aback. Junti and Sang-hyuk glare at him, asking what is wrong with him. Junti swears Junwoo is dead to him if something happens to Soyeon. But Junwoo ignores them and turns to Minju, telling her to take out her sword as there is no time to spare. He says it isn't a big deal and just a slit is all they need. Minju pleads she can't slit Soyeon and suggests there must be another way, but Junwoo says she will do it to him, shocking the others. Minju finally gives in and summons her sword. To Junwoo's surprise, she wields it at him without warning. It definitely hurt like hell. He then tells the others he will be taking Soyeon to the support team. Junti was shocked and asked how long it will take her to look like that. Plus, it is at least a 30-minute ride to get to the support team. Now bleeding like a piñata, Junwoo slings Soyeon over his back, activates Hyperpost skill, and speedruns to the support team like he's glitching through Elden Ring. With 3 minutes left, he barely gets her saved. Later, Junti is seen thanking the doctor for saving Soyeon. The doctor says it was a close call and the patient should recover in several days' time. He then tells Junwoo to drop by the discharging office to make his payment for the suture. Junwoo was furious as they were charging him for a couple of stitches. They all later made their way to Soyeon's hospital room. Though she looked embarrassed, the others surrounded her, revealing how she had them all worried to death. One of them causes the worn-out gear for making her like that. He says he heard the hunters get a seasonal upgrade on their gear. He instantly turns embarrassed as he sees Minju, but she assures him it's fine. Junti suggests Soyeon get some rest while she can. In the meanwhile, he will try to get the bills cleared as an occupational accident. Junwoo, on the other hand, exits the room, saying he has to go on a walk. Back at the hospital, everyone rallies around Soyeon, weepy like a K-drama finale. Sang-hyuk complains about garbage equipment, while Junwoo sneaks out grinning, realizing her near death is the perfect excuse to demand more budget. Man's playing 4D chess with trauma. With this incident, the association will have no choice but to cooperate if they want to protect their reputation. Junwoo smirks, realizing that if this plan succeeds, he will unlock 2 new skills and be saying goodbye to the cleaning team in no time. Soyeon, on the other hand, seems worried and points out that Junwoo did not seem to be in a good mood. Junti reveals that he is furious because she got injured. He praises him for being a loyal young man who cares more about his partners than anyone else. Minju knew this was correct. He put his partner first enough to sacrifice his own body. She had never doubted he was a natural leader. Sang-hyuk points out how the man saved her life, but by using her skill. He found it absurd that the cleaner was using skills. Junti asks Minju what he thinks of him as a hunter. He says that Junwoo seems too scared to be working as a learning staff. He is more knowledgeable about dungeon tactics and monsters than most other hunters out there. Minju questions if he is asking whether he could be transferred to the strategy and operation team. She agrees that the man is definitely far more outstanding compared to most hunters in terms of experience or skill, but the problem is that he is on the cleaning team. Sang-hyuk becomes furious and offended. Junti calms him down while Minju explains that even as a B-class hunter herself, she cannot gauge how skilled Master actually is. She says he must be well aware of his own strength, yet he chose the cleaning team over the strategy and operation team. The others were shocked, as this only means one thing: Junwoo staying on the team because he wants to. At least that is the only way Minju can wrap her head around it. Junti remains confused and wonders why he would insist on doing such dirty work. Minju proudly assumes that Monster is incredibly skilled, but he does not want to be involved in that corporate ladder. He has chosen to work with the cleaning team for camaraderie. The other members of the cleaning team were indeed taken aback, and they're instantly teary-eyed. If that was the case, they promised not to speak of the matter anymore. They also then assumed that he must have gone now to the association to take this matter into his own hands. Half of that assumption was correct. We will give them that. Junwoo made his way to the head of the Korea Association, Min Cheol-seo, and revealed his identity as a cleaner. Junwoo talks to the man about a budget raise for the cleaning team. Min Cheol begins to ponder about his proposal. Min Cheol was the Seoul headquarters' topmost man. He took up the post this time last year, and his followers parachuted one after another into position. Their influence on the association has been far from what anyone imagined. Min Cheol tells Junwoo that this is not his business, but the management team's. Junwoo questions what kind of hunter deals with smaller monsters on a conquest. Min Cheol is offended that a cleaner, not even a team leader but a glorified janitor, came directly to him. He calls Junwoo a kid who doesn't know better. Bro really pulled the kids these days card like he's on Facebook ranting about avocado toast. Min Cheol asks, what exactly does the cleaning team need a budget raise for? They do not have that many expenses anywhere. The head begins to get more furious as the boy says the budget is even less than the few expenses they have. Junwoo gets called amusing by him for being ignorant yet courageous. Junwoo interjects, revealing that there has been an accident and they did not have any budget to replace the outdated equipment. They proceeded with the old equipment and the protective suit got torn. The respirator was malfunctioning and a team member was exposed to monster toxin. Min Cheol becomes confused and asks how come he never received any report on that. Junwoo says it might be because it only just happened. He says he understands that he does not want to spend on the cleaning team, but accidents should not even happen in the first place. He suggests the man at least provide some safety equipment. The boss tries the classic no funds excuse, but Junwoo isn't having it. He points out how the head pulled the strings on this year's budget. The budget signed to the Superpower Management Department alone probably counts up to millions of dollars. He further explains how 70 of it fell into the hands of the strategy and operation team. Min Cheol was shocked and asked, how does he know all this? Junwoo Grains leans forward, saying he cannot use it all up this year anyway. He's going to be spending on year-end celebratory conquests and union raids. He asserts that the head should spare it for the ones who really need it. Min Cheol turns pale and questions who he is. Junwoo calmly replies that he is a cleaner, like he told him before. He also tells the head to consider his position, as it has been 3 months since he has been in the office. He should better keep that seat he worked real hard to get. He explains that the cleaning team is already known for being treated poorly. What if people found out that there had been an accident because the team did not have the budget for new equipment? Min Cheol asks if he is blackmailing him, to which he shrugs his shoulders, saying he's just saying the facts. The head eventually gives in and asks what he is thinking of. Junwoo tells him whatever he wants to give is fine. It doesn't truly care about the amount as long as it is a raise. It is because the portal simply listed a budget raised in the requirement to unlock skill. Before he can leave, the head stops him and asks if he knows about the hunter Minju Kim. Min Cheol smiles, as he could tell by Junwoo's expression that he knew about her. He says he will let him know after he reviews the budget expansion and tells him to leave. Junwoo becomes suspicious, wondering why he would bring her up now. Min Cheol instantly calls his subordinate, as he was now certain that the kid Minju came tottering to learn swordsmanship from this guy. And he is now certain that this guy is definitely not a cleaner. He had information about them, which could mean he is an insider from the association. The other guy on the line, Sayang, smiled, saying they have got to show them who the boss is. Smile, saying this gives him a perfect excuse to teach them a lesson or two anyways. The next day, Junti is surprised to receive a disciplinary action. The reason for disciplinary action against Soyeon is a violation of the prohibition of side jobs, and they see the accident as a result of the accumulation of fatigue from side jobs. It also stated that there is no evidence the equipment was outdated. This angers everyone on the clearance team. Soyeon tells Junwoo not to worry about it, as it is just a written warning and she never expected the claim to be approved anywhere. Junwoo wonders what she is on about. It is the unlocked skills that he is worried about. They were all teary-eyed and began to console him, saying they heard. He took one for the team and spoke to the general manager. Junwoo remains dumbfounded and wonders if they have all gone bats. Just how could they integrate the situation this way? They all become determined, promising not to let his efforts be in vain, and begin to decide on having another day of hard work. The more he thinks about it, the less it makes sense. He did not even ask for a big sum, nor did he press charges on them, so why bring up this side job and everything? Is there a reason for the authorities to make such an extreme decision? He gets cut off from his thoughts as Minju questions if the effect might be because of her. Upon asking, she reveals that she actually mentioned the cleaning team to her boss when she requested some time off. She knew he was not too happy about it, but now she is starting to think that could be why he is acting this way. Junwoo becomes surprised and asks what her boss's name is. Minju reveals it is Seong Lee of Strategy and Operation Team 1. Junwoo smirks, of course. Nepotism baby, power-tripping clown, and Mincheol's lapdog. Suddenly all the BS makes sense. He tells Junti he's taking the day off, then heads to Seoul. It was a normal day in Seoul until a dungeon appeared randomly in the middle of the city. Junwoo smiles, knowing it is about damn time that he shows off his skills. Finally, a main character moment. Later, Junwoo is seen slashing the monsters left and right with his hyper boost skill, intercepting the dungeon completely. Secretly subjugating a dungeon without the association's permission before the hunters get to it as an uncivil subjugation done by freelance hunters chasing money. It is not very commonly done, considering the risk, the time restraint, and the lack of information. But none of that matters to Junwoo. As a top-class hunter, he could easily finish this dungeon off in 10 minutes, but that was only when he had the necessary skills. He knew that without any defense skills, a single hit from the boss would send him to hell. The only reason he is able to subjugate this dungeon at this rate is because this is not his first time in this dungeon. He has managed to subjugate 4 dungeons in a day. It didn't seem bad to Junwoo, considering how a single hunter on the strategy and operation team subjugates 3 to 4 dungeons a week. But it won't be very profitable, as these were all low-level dungeons. The vehicles from the association filled the vicinity, making him think that he put the headquarters in an emergency. Well, they just got their butts kicked by an unknown hunter. The hunters were indeed furious at the anonymous freelance hunter because they were put on duty on their day off. Escort. The least that could happen is that he gets fired. Compensation for damage at the worst, but Junwoo thinks they probably won't even guess it was a cleaner. After 11 minutes are up, Junwoo decides to leave the dungeon, as the hunters would be here in any moment. After all, he wanted to check out their faces in awe. However, they were not the only ones at all after he returned from his 2-day leave. Seong Lee had arrived at the cleaners at the time of dungeon cleaning. Junwoo wondered what on earth brought him here and whether he caught on by any chance. Though the man talked about camaraderie, Junwoo knew it was all just talk. Seong Lee smiles curtly. Suggest they consider him a bystander and carry on as they normally would. But Junwoo, it's certain that the man suspects him as the culprit of the dungeon interception. Junti suggests that he will get the respirator and suit for him. But Seong says he will not need the suit and will just be watching from afar. A while later, Seong Lee watches the dungeon cleaning team at work. He was surprised to see Minju was still here. He watches them at work and thinks they're pretending to be busy just because he is around. He takes it as a good time to throw the beat. He asks Minju if she heard about the dungeon interception these past 2 days. Junwoo becomes bewildered upon hearing this. Minju Kim thinks he is currently a hunter, but if it is known that there was a dungeon interception while he was away, it might become troublesome for him. Not only is he at the risk of being ratted out, but the entire team could rat him out. He wonders if the man is trying to feel him out. At this rate, he will be doomed. Minju remarks calmly that the hunters must be going wild. Sayoung affirms, saying they're doing a heavy sweep, but it is not easy to find the culprit. He says the general manager is offering a great deal of reward for whoever brings in the dungeon interceptor. Elaborates further on how the manager is offering additional points in the rank evaluation for hunters and maybe a departmental transfer for any other team that catches the culprit. Every eye darts to Junwoo. Sayoung says that if the training team catches the interceptor, they all could be reassigned to another team. He smirks, knowing exactly what he is doing, and says that they should make sure to report to him if there is anyone they find suspicious, like someone who recently took 2 days off work. Junwoo knows he is done for. The man may have pulled strings to land his position, but he overlooked the scumbag's cleverness. He's ready to panic, but then Junti swoops in with Oscar-level improv. He scolds Junwoo for getting injured yesterday while dismantling monsters. Soyeon piles on. Sanghyuk calls him an idiot. Basically, the whole squad gaslights Sayoung into thinking Junwoo's just an accident-prone fool, not the mysterious dungeon slayer. The team even laughs creepily, promising to bring the interceptor straight to him if they find out. Sayoung stares, wondering if the cleaners have all gone insane from inhaling bleach. On the other hand, Mujin was smiling fondly. Later, Mr. Lee calls the manager, saying he is absolutely certain the cleaner is behind the interception. There have not been any more interceptions ever since he went back to work, but the manager suggests that they should give in to the cleaning team. Mr. Lee argues against it, but the manager says they might have stirred up the hornet's nest, as that cleaner is not an ordinary cleaner. He takes a guess on his real identity, which shocks Mr. Lee even more. Junwoo's logic was simple: if the association won't give me a budget, I'll just print my own money. Except his version of printing meant hijacking dungeons like they were Amazon delivery trucks. Back in the present, Sayoung tries convincing the general manager that Junwoo is the one behind the interception and that they have clear evidence that he gets told that someone just made an anonymous donation to the cleaning team. It is not a big amount, but it is said to be about the estimated profit from the recent interception. Sayoung comments that this only proves their assumption, but Mincheol asserts that is exactly the problem. It is a little off for a cleaner to intercept dungeons. Sayoung realizes what he means. There is no way someone would willingly take on the dirty work of a cleaner when they have got the abilities to move up. But not only did that man come to Mincheol directly to propose a budget raise, but he also knew every detail about the association. This makes Mincheol certain that he does not belong at the cleaning table. He guesses Junwoo might be an insider from the association, except from somewhere high up on the ladder. He assumes that it might be the chairman himself. Sayoung nearly chokes. Imagine the CEO in a hazmat suit pushing a mop for team-building exercises. He clenches his teeth in frustration. It all made sense while his team members were backing him up. It is because they were all supported by the chairman. Mincheol guesses that this must be a warning for them to get things straight before the chairman takes matters into his own hands. He says they must have messed with the wrong person. On the other hand, the cleaning team was done with their work. To Junwoo, it seemed that Sayoung had decided to let him off the hook this time. The only issue now is when they will receive their funds, but he is instantly shocked as he sees a bundle of cartons outside the dungeon. They all began to talk amongst themselves, wondering if any one of them had ordered something. Everyone panics like Amazon just dropped a bomb. Inside, brand new hazmat suits and respirators, basically Gucci drip for janitors. Junti ponders over the possibility of them being from the headquarters, but the others disagree. Junwoo thinks that the anonymous donation must have eventually got distributed. Junti is bewildered and reveals that there is an official notice with the packages. Junwoo thinks that it probably states how an anonymous donor offered the equipment, but he is extremely dumbfounded as the leader reveals that it is about 200 million. It is 10 times the amount he donated. They began to read the official notice. After another close review within the association, we have determined that the outdated equipment from the lack of budget was the primary cause of the accident. Therefore, the Seoul headquarters has decided to increase the team's budget, albeit slightly. Everyone is appalled as they wonder if this is true. The letter further stated, "We would also like to offer our deepest and most sincere sympathy to Miss Soyeon Mun regarding her injuries and would like to provide a small amount of compensation." In easy words, oops, sorry you almost died from poverty. Here's some budget and 100 million in sympathy money for Miss Soyeon. Soyeon's eyes filled with tears as the compensation amount added up to 100 million won. All eyes turned towards Junwoo, somewhat sure that it has something to do with him. Junti is extremely happy, commenting that it is the first time he has ever seen a change in the association like this. But Junwoo points out that it seems strange for them to change their minds all of a sudden. But the leader pays no extra attention to it and is happy with the outcome. But he hoped that they could have moved all this stuff to the office, as now they would have to carry it. Junwoo is a bit taken aback, not knowing that they have an office as well. Minju offers to carry these over to the office with Junwoo and suggests the others rest and head home. Suddenly, the system portal pops open. Junwoo reads how the budget expansion for the cleaning team task has been completed and he has acquired the skill Hellfire. He smirks as he had finally managed to unlock it. This makes him closer to his goal, which is leaving this team. He gets distracted from his thoughts as Minju asks if it was him that intercepted the dungeons these past 2 days. Junwoo initially becomes silent but then asks what she is going to do about it if it is true. Minju assures him not to worry as she would not rat him out, just for some additional points. She points out how he sponsored the compensation and funding with the profit from the interception. This shocks Junwoo. Minju points out that the others also probably knew and are just turning a blind eye because they do not want to put him at risk. Junwoo frowns in utter surprise. He now realizes he had handled the matter quite meticulously. Minju warns him that they may have let him go this time, but they will keep an eye on him for sure. In that case, his spotting the cleaning team will not be guaranteed any longer. Junwoo begins to smile brightly, as he wanted nothing more than this. He wonders if she is trying to move him up the ladder by speaking up to the superiors. He never thought he would get to see the day that Minju Kim would be of help. He is now proud of his decision to let her tag along with the cleaning team. Now it will not be long until he breaks free from this nightmare of a cleaning team. But Minju's eyes fill with tears, saying she knows the master doesn't want to leave the team. She offers to help him stay in the cleaning team for as long as he wishes once she reaches a higher rank. Junwoo is extremely pissed to hear her say this and he thinks she is trying to mess with him. He almost blew a vein. After all, he is trying to leave this circus, not extend the contract. Everything seemed to sell smoothly after the interception incident, or so we thought until this happened. Upon entering a dungeon to begin their task, they found the dungeon in a complete disaster. The entire walls were smeared in profanity against them, written in monster blood. The monster carcasses were deliberately scattered all over the place as well. While some of the team members were pressed, the others were shocked, knowing this is going overboard. Sanjok was extremely furious and suggests they go have a word with these impudent beings. But Junwoo, since there is nothing they can do if they will not admit that it was their doing, it suggests they ignore it and let it go. But this only makes the man more furious, and he asks if he is not infuriated by this. Junwoo shockingly remains calm, suggesting once again to ignore them and it will stop eventually. He knew the only people who would do this would be the hunters from the operation team, though he wishes he could go and take it up with them right this moment. He must avoid confronting the operation team at all costs if he wants his skills unlocked. But as he is certain they cannot keep this going forever anywhere, or so he thought. The problem did not cease, not even after 4 days. They were all exhausted from cleaning the place. Junti reveals he tried to have a word with the hunter's team leader, but all he got was that he would be gone on a business trip for the next few days. It is like Junwoo said, they are not owning up to it and ask for proof. Sanghyuk begins to call Minju, but an angry Junwoo warns him not to, as he will be going in himself. Extremely furious, he tells them not to clean the dungeon. He had to give it to the hunters, as it was impressive to see just how truly devoted they were with his immature behavior and going at it for 3 days in a row. But most of all, he highly credited them for their ability to sincerely and tremendously piss him off. After all, Junwoo has OCD. He curses at the pathetic hunters for daring to extend his working hours to 15. Today, as if he's not working, he's busting his butt already. Thanks to them, he has been missing his last ride home every night. Junwoo directly makes his way to the Seattle headquarters of the association. In a fit of rage, he pushes everyone away from his side, swearing to end all of them tonight once and for all. This was all happening because of one apparent reason. One day the hunters met the cleaning team. They looked at the cleaners in disdain, mumbling about how they are welcomed by the revolting stench, a trademark of the cleaning team. Ah, the good old classism. Therefore, matters can get worse. Minju appears out of the blue. She approaches the two rude hunters and asks which division they are from, but they underestimate her, calling her a kid and suggesting she screw off before they lose their temper. Minju's demeanor turns even darker as she asserts that she had asked them which division they were from. One of the hunters recognized her as their superior, and their demeanor instantly shifted as they began to bow in respect. Minju realizes that the two are from her team. After scolding them off, she turns to the cleaning team, asking if they're all right. She reveals how there are guys like them among the newbies, acting all entitled and pretentious, being a hunter when they're barely able to get to the B-class rank. She then apologizes for what happened, but they showed her it is fine. Minju but goodbye to them, saying that she is done with getting all the teaching and support she needed. Everyone was shocked to see her leave, except for one person. Junu told her to leave earlier. Hearing that, she seemed to be quite shocked but was soon to figure out what it really meant. It is because no more cleaning meant that he was accepting Hyde's favor. Afterwards, he helped her decide on the conquest schedules based on his knowledge and experience. As long as Minju is able to pull it off, he is certain she will reach a rank in half a year. He is far from building the career he had in his previous life anyway. His ultimate plan is to train her into the greatest hunter and use her as a means of negotiation with the association. It internally laughs, remembering how she had asked him in his previous life if she meant anything more than a disposable to him. Well, the answer is she is nothing more than a disposable in this life as well. After that, Minju sincerely thanked him for giving her a chance. This did take him aback a bit, as he never thought she was this cheerful. Anyway, all this happened the day after Minju left the cleaning team. Back in the present, Junu directly made his way to the two rude hunters from before. Without a moment of hesitation, he punches one of them right across the face. The other man begins to activate his skill, Necromancer, which is a type of death assault. But Junu did not give a crap about it. He not only defeats the man, but also death itself. It's kind of ironic in a way. He scolds them for going about acting foolishly like they did. He asks how dare they use their skills on a civilian on dungeon grounds. The hunter ends up apologizing. Junu, as if bipolar, immediately turns gender and tells the hunter that starting today they will not be cleaning up after the mess of the dungeon they leave behind. Everything they have done so far will be in the headlines and on social media, which will liven up their hunter career. The hunter questions if he really thinks the association will let him off afterwards, as it has always sided with the hunters. Junu scoffs, asking if he really thinks the association will cover for him when he is basically nothing but an E-ranker. He orders the hunter to come and apologize to the cleaning team himself if he does not want to make matters worse. Otherwise, he will take it as if he is calling for a match in the dungeon with all skills stripped. Just then, Sayoung enters the room, asking what the commotion is about. Junu's eyes widen in shock as he is told by his leader that the boss is supposed to be away on a business trip. Sayoung becomes nervous and politely asks what brings him here, even addressing him as Mr. Kim. His fake courtesy makes Junu even more taken aback. He points to the hunter behind him, revealing that those guys put up stupid art on their conquests. This scattered monster carcasses all over the place and wrote on the walls with the blood, so he was just checking in to see if they had a problem with the cleaning team. The hunter curses at him, telling his leader that it is a lie. Sayoung becomes furious and slaps the conscience out of the hunter, asking if he has gone out of his mind. He immediately apologizes on the hunter's behalf, shocking Junu even more. Junu leaves scratching his head, wondering when he accidentally got promoted from janitor to mafia boss. Things wrapped up well after that, but there was one question that remained unanswered. That is the change in Sayoung Lee's attitude. He consulted Minju about it. She said that she just returned from her week-long vacation, so she does not know at the moment. Junu is glad they at least got a proper apology out of the issue. Minju reveals that the two hunters have been fired, shocking him even more. He couldn't believe Sayoung Lee had fired not one but two hunters, all because of a single complaint from a mere cleaner. He knew there was something off about his bizarrely polite attitude that day, but now his curiosity was only piqued. On top of that, the next day, Junwoo and the rest of the cleaning team were shocked to see a bunch of hunters bowing and thanking them in advance for the cleanup. The hunters' bizarre behavior continued on. After every conquest, they would stay behind to greet them with excessively courteous salutes. They pretty much did their job for them, gathering up the monster carcasses in our corner and cleaning. The boss's room is spick and span. Imagine top-ranked hunters cosplaying as janitors just to avoid Junwoo's wrath. Soyeon nervously looks around the boss's room, commenting that this is not quite easy to get used to. Junti was also quite taken aback and says he has been a cleaner for 10 years but has never seen the strategy and operation team behave this way. Sang-hyuk laughs, saying they might even take over the strategy and operation team at this rate. The others began to appreciate Junwoo for being the cause of all of this. Soyeon approached him and appreciated that he was siding with them but said she was a bit worried. Junwoo becomes confused, wondering what she is on about. She says she is worried he will have to face the consequences by himself. The hunters may be walking on eggshells at the moment, but you never know who's out there to get you. Junwoo says they will not retaliate unless it is a hunter with one hell of the gut, so he tells her not to worry, at least not for now. Soyeon smiles in relief. Sang-hyuk approaches them, talking about how he went right up to the general manager. And not only did they increase their budget, but they also got hunters fired on the spot with a single remark. And now he has got strategy and operation team one walking on eggshells. Junwoo suggests he get to the point, after which he asks if he is one of those big shots that even the higher-ups do not stand a chance against. Junwoo's eyes widen in utter shock, and then he bursts into laughter. He turns away, still laughing, telling them to get back to work. This makes Sang-hyuk irritated and embarrassed. The scene shifts to the head of the strategy and operation team, Mr. Lim, meeting with a sleep-deprived Mr. Lee. He laughs at Lee for sucking up to the cleaning team recently. Mr. Lee yells at him to shut his mouth if he has not got a clue. Mr. Lim keeps on munching, saying he knows that the man is backed up by the chairman himself. He says this is why connections do not really last in the industry. He tells Mr. Lee that he would not be fearing big shots and whatnot if he had gotten into his position on his own like him. This irritated Mr. Lee even more, and he tells him to quit it already and not pick a fight. Mr. Lim says he can get things sorted for him. He tells him to leave it up to him and let him take care of this matter as his superior. He says there is no way the cleaner will survive a fatal mistake, even as the chairman's connection. But this only makes Mr. Lee even more nervous as he wonders what the lunatic has got up his sleeve this time. However, he agrees to partner up with him. In exchange, Mr. Lim points out how Mr. Lee's team is scheduled for a large-scale conquest next week, a multi-zone dungeon. The multi-zone dungeon is a unique dungeon that opens up consecutively only after the previous boss is defeated. Normally, it would have been a standard green rank, but the fact that it is impossible to leave the dungeon unless all the bosses have been subjugated makes this difficult. That is why it is a substantial project that requires a month of preparation and another for operation and planning. Mr. Lee tells the man that he is out of his mind for daring to say that they should pass it over to their team. Mr. Lim points out how the general manager already approved it and told him to talk it through with him. Dongbin Lim always took all the credit by intercepting the performances of others. But right now, Mr. Lee knows he cannot risk causing direct harm to the cleaning team. With no choice left, he assures himself this is not the only existing large-scale conquest there is. It would be a win for him if that carpetbagger were to get rid of the cleaning deal. With that, he solidifies the deal with Mr. Lim. Before leaving, Mr. Lim reveals how there is a rising star on his team, Minju Kim, and asks him to lend her to him. Mr. Lee was losing his patience by now and wondered where this comeback here about these things came from. He flicks his finger, telling him to take whatever he needs. On the other hand, Junwoo was busy sorting out his skills. Things have changed since he first regressed into this body. As things started to work out, it became less demanding to unlock the skills. He checks up on another scale, which is to summon a lower grade. The requirement to unlock this skill is to hire a new staff member on the cleaning team. He had heard the cleaning team has not had any new applicants in months, and he guesses it is a pass for now. The other skill was over-immersion. The requirement to unlock it is to initiate a joint project with another department. He wouldn't have even considered this before, but seeing the operation team nowadays, he thinks he might have a chance. There was another skill, but it demanded a wage increase, which was impossible for now. In other words, polymorph, but it required the increase of public interest in the cleaning team. To him, this seemed the most attainable for now. He was deciding which grindfist was worth it when Minju called. She casually dropped the nuke. They're scheduled for a large-scale conquest next week, and she's leading it. Oh, and they want the cleaning team too, astounding Juno. The dungeon cleaning team arrives at the headquarters and meets the disdainful eyes of the hunters. It was no doubt that they hate the cleaning team as well. They had cost them their budget, their job, and their duty. As they continue to treat the cleaning team badly, Juno becomes extremely furious. The petty low-ranker hunters were testing his patience. He then suddenly realizes something. He confirms with Minju Kim if the multi-zone dungeons aren't assigned to Team 1, pointing out that those guys are not from her team. Minju Kim agrees. She reveals that it was originally supposed to be a team project, but she heard Mr. Lee handed it over to Team 2. Juno becomes confused, wondering why he would toss over such a substantial project to another team when it must have taken months to prepare. Minju says she has got no clue, but heard the team leaders got together for an exchange. Their attention diverts as the leader of the strategy and operation team enters the meeting room. Juno becomes dumbfounded as he recognizes the man immediately. Juno's veins practically bulged when he locked eyes with Dongbin Lim. Of course, this clown was the one leading the strategy team, the same guy who'd made a career out of copy-pasting other people's projects like a discount AI bot. Back when Juno was a rookie, Lim had been notorious for stealing credit. The man was basically the group project kid who shows up at the end for credit, but in team leader form. He advises Minju to stay away from that scumbag, or she will gain nothing from him. Lim instructs everyone involved. The estimated time for this conquest is 24 hours. He reminds them all that they cannot leave a multi-zone dungeon unless all zones have been cleared. If they want out, they have until the end of the day to inform him. He then begins the briefing on the Yongjungpo area. Lim explains that the conquest will be divided into 3 groups. Since the conquest is expected to last 24 hours, the subjugated monsters will begin to decompose. In that case, the carcasses will release gas and most likely interfere with the conquest. He looks at the cleaning team with the scum expression, saying that will be taken care of by the 3 cleaning teams they have. He smirks, saying they will be receiving a generous bonus as well since this is a large-scale project. Junti stands up on behalf of his team and affirms there was not any reason to decline the offer. Not only was it a great opportunity to team up with the strategy and operation team, but they could also get a bonus and get working right after the conquest. Therefore, it was a highly efficient job for the dungeon cleaning team. Not to mention, it was a perfect chance for Juno to unlock a new skill. If they do not take this conquest, Juno thinks he might not get another chance to do a joint operation ever again. It is because they are just like the cleaning team. Despite the risk, he speaks up and apologetically says that they should not count the cleaning team in this conquest. This shocks Mr. Lim greatly. For Juno, hell no. This was Lim's performance, and there was no way he'd be the supporting actor in the Dongbin show. Later, the rest of the cleaning team and Minju wonder why Juno rejected this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Junti guesses that the boy was just trying to look after them. Manju agrees, saying the briefing made it sound easy and simple, but it was indeed a very dangerous operation. It is a 24-hour-long operation that goes on without any breaks, with more monsters than one can imagine. Junti's eyes filled with tears, saying that Juno must have foreseen the danger of this operation and rejected it, knowing they would accept it cluelessly. The man was seconds away from calling Juno our little sunshine like a proud mom at PTA. The others were also moved. But the dungeon cleaning team is shocked as Minju reveals that she is thinking of backing out as well. They tried to tell her not to quit if she is only doing it because of them. Minju assures them that is not the case, and she was not entirely happy with it anyway. She felt like she was not skilled enough to be a leader yet. She smiled, saying that most of all Master told her not to get involved with that guy. Therefore, it is only right that she take his advice. The others smile and agree with her opinion. The scene shifts to Mr. Lei walking around with a pleased expression on his face. The cause of his good mood was the humiliation Mr. Lim had faced from the dungeon cleaning team. He regrets not seeing his dumbfounded face with his own eyes. But Mr. Lim was determined. He asks Mr. Lei to let him borrow his connections for once, as he needs to get his hands on the required personnel list. The required personnel list is issued under the authority of the general manager and is in order to carry out operations by force. Disobeying the order may result in disciplinary action or even a resignation under instruction. Mr. Lim was clearly furious that the inexperienced little cleaner dared to challenge him. After a few days of that incident, they came upon the news that Mr. Lim got his hands on the required personnel list. Minju and the cleaning team had no choice but to join in the conquest. On the day of the conquest, they noticed a lot of media gathered around near the dungeon gates. It is certain a conquest this large would certainly catch their attention. Junwoo sees Minju quivering all over despite being the leader of the conquest. She reveals that she has never done anything like this, but he nudges her to be brave, or the citizens will get anxious if they think the hunter looks nervous. He asks how she is going to pull through the actual conquest if she is already this nervous. Minju assures him that she is fine, as she does better in real situations anyway. He then asks her to keep her focus only on the subjugation and nothing else, not even his team once they're inside the dungeon. But Minju tells him to keep his radio on, though, just in case. Junwoo frowns, asking if she plans on asking for help over the radio. Her silent expression gave it away. He gives in, telling her to call him only when she thinks she is on the verge of death. Junti gathers his team, suggesting they do an overall check of the supplies before they head on in. After the regular check, he tells them it is going to be tough, but there should not be any issues as long as they do what they normally would. Mr. Lim approaches Minju and mocks her for being with the cleaning team. He hopes this conquest will be a great success for the both of them. Junwoo admits that Minju has the ability to lead a conquest, but there is a real reason why Lim did not take the lead. That scumbag has got no clue how to lead out in the field. He has only ever planned operations his entire life and never had any actual conquest, simply piggybacking on every conquest. Mr. Lim assures Minju that he will be on site through it all so they do not have to be anxious. About this being her first leading position, Manju replies saucily and affirms, making him wonder what is up with her attitude. He becomes even more furious as he sees Junwoo acting all high and mighty. Before heading inside, Minju revises the plan. She reveals that the subjugation will be carried out by 3 teams, A, B, and C. Once Team A subjugates the first zone, Team B will then subjugate the next zone. And the same goes with Team C. Their plan is to repeat the cycle until all subjugations in the dungeon are finished. She reminds them all that this is a joint operation with the cleaning team. She knows they are all experts, so they have nothing to worry about, but she suggests they call the cleaning team for help in case of an emergency. This shocks everyone, including Mr. Lim, as they wonder what is going on with her. Junwoo was also shocked, wondering what she was saying. Mr. Lim awkwardly loves saying that Miss Kim must be quite nervous. She ignores him though, telling everyone to review the operation contents one last time so they can begin the operation. Soon enough, they all began to head inside.